thankful to be able to share the gift with others. And that's really what it was about.
You said you've been drawing since you were 3 years old?
Since I was 3 years old, yeah. I would draw all the time. You know, I grew up in Trinidad as a kid. And
You're Trinity man.
Yeah, Trinity man, you know. And I watch American TV shows. That's all we had. I watch American TV. And, you know, you'd see toy commercials. You'd see all these things. That's before the iPhone, internet, all that. So my mom would tell me, well, if you're good, I'll get you this toy. Or I'll buy you this. But the way she'd keep me calm, she would say, well, why don't you draw what it is you want? So I would sit there and I'd watch commercials, right? And I knew if I explained to her what it was verbally, she wouldn't get it. So I would watch commercials and draw what I saw. And then I would show it to her, like, Mom, look, I want this. And she'd go, baby, you know, that's good. Well, like, what is that? And I would try to explain it. So what I learned was in order to get what I wanted, I had to get really good at being able to show her what it was that I wanted. So that kind of repetitive practice of looking, observing, and translating it to paper really got me into the mindset of being able to observe and respond.
That's a great technique that your mom put in place.
Yeah, and it was an accident.
Yeah.
You know? Well, it really was an accident. And from that, it kind of took off. Like, she saw the value of what I was doing. We moved to the States. You know, I went to Newark Community School of the Arts, went to RTI, and I've just been going ever since.
Yeah, I talked to Danielle Scott, and she was telling me.
Yeah, Danielle Scott and I go way back. She was like one of the premier artists that I met at RTI, and I always wanted to be like her. Like, I just saw she made beautiful work, and she did it so effortlessly. Like, she, you know, just really talented young lady. And, you know, as a freshman, I would hang out with older kids, and she was one of the older kids. So it was her and like a handful of other artists that I just absolutely admired. And I would just watch them and learn from them and compete with them. Like, they would come in school, you know, in high school with like a piece that they did the night before, and I'd be like, damn, I'd go home and like step my game up. So I'd go home and I'd draw something, bring it in the next day. And, you know, that competition, that competitive spirit really helped me elevate my game. So I'm thankful to people like Danielle Scott.
It seems like you've always been challenged at a younger age, challenged to do things above like your level. So it's almost forced you to become a better artist.
Yeah.
So,
and then it's like a lot of that too. I forced myself. A lot of that self-imposed, you know, dedication and follow through. I learned like in order to get better or to master something, you have to put in the time. Like, what do they say? It's like 10,000 hours to become expert level.
Right.
Well, that's really what it comes down to. Just doing something over and over and over, and not being afraid to try and fail. I think a lot of people with any endeavor, people often say like, "Oh, I'm not gonna do this. Like, what if I mess up?" You can't think that, you know. And I think that fear is what keeps us from transcending and going doing the things that we need to do or should be doing.
It can be grueling, like to get in the midst of it, and you're doing things that are repetitive. But the thing about art is your projects are so different,
right?
That so you're not really bored. You're not really doing the same thing,
right?
You know, even with this, I do different interviews, but like I never did an interview inside a truck, right, which has a nice feel. So we, you know, but it's important that you continue to like expand in that way and branch out in that way, because it really pushes you. It just keeps pushing you on, and that's why you're able to do so many things. Because the first time I saw you, and somebody told me that, was like, oh, he do this, he do that, and I looked at you and I was like, I'm looking at your hands and everything, but I can understand it now. It's because since you were very small, you've always had that ability to conjure something up in your mind, create it, and then you learn how to do it with various...
Right. Because the way I look at it, it's all art making. It's all visual. As long as it's visual, it's always the idea. As long as the idea is solid, you can figure out the tools. You know, and
that's interesting.
And that's the way I look at it. Like, I don't really call myself an artist. I call myself more of a creative problem solver. Like, I look at, like, what is the problem? Okay, how do I execute this? I may not know how to, you know, do anything in metal, but I can learn.
What's that name again now?
A creative problem solver. Yeah. You know, like,
that's pretty cool.
I think that's a cool way to look at it, because, you know, that's what you're doing as an artist. You're solving problems. You're solving visual problems. You're solving technical problems. And those two things work together to create art. Like, you know, you gotta look at things like, well, if I'm using spray paint, how much spray paint do I need? Like, what's the pressure that's coming out? Like, you know, learning the tools and not being beholden to the tools. A lot of people get caught up in how you make things rather than doing it.
Right. You have any mentors from Newark? Any mentors, other artists that you look up to or you admire?
Well, an artist that comes to mind immediately is my good friend Maurice Chestnut, tap dancer. And I've known this guy since 3rd grade and at Newark Community School of the Arts. And he inspires me just as much as I inspire him. Like, I see what he's doing. He's doing a lot of great work in community, bringing dance and tap dance to Newark. And, people like that inspire me because it's not just about art for the sake of making art. It's art for the sake of challenging the dominant ideology and, inspiring as well as
every facet we possibly can touch people in terms of the art, as long as they see how art can affect them.
Absolutely.
And create change.
Yeah.
On so many different levels, educational level, philosophical level. You talked about how it makes you a critical thinker.
Right.
All these things. Art is so powerful, and we have to continue to make art. I keep saying there's not enough art for us.
Right.
I mean.